The station hung in empty space like a silver needle, rotating slowly against the dark. Lisa Grant pressed her forehead against the cold viewport of the transport shuttle as it approached Meridian Station. Her reflection stared back at her, pale and tired. She touched the small locket hanging beneath her diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. She was here to negotiate peace. That was the official story anyway. The shuttle docked with a soft hiss of pressurized air. Lisa straightened her uniform, smoothed her dark hair, and picked up her single travel bag. A young station officer named Peterson greeted her in the arrival corridor. He was human, which was rare on a station like this. Most of the staff were alien workers employed by the Galactic Council. "Ambassador Grant, welcome to Meridian," Peterson said, offering a small smile. "Your quarters are prepared on level 7. "Thank you, Peterson," Lisa replied. Her voice was calm and steady, exactly as it should be. She had practiced this calm for 5 years. 5 years of speaking in measured tones and keeping her hands from shaking. "I'll need an overview of the station security protocols and the Kareth delegation's schedule." Peterson's smile faded slightly. Most diplomats asked about restaurants or recreation areas first. Lisa was already thinking about procedures and movements. He led her through the curved corridors of Meridian Station, pointing out the conference areas and common spaces. The station was a place designed for peace, with open sightlines and transparent materials meant to show that nothing was hidden. The Galactic Council loved this kind of symbolism. Lisa noticed everything. The security cameras and their blind spots, the emergency exits, the personnel who moved through the corridors with purpose. Her training had taught her to see a place not as a location, but as a battlefield. "The Kareth delegation arrived 3 days ago," Peterson explained as they walked. "Commander Vex is their lead representative. He's very large and direct in his communications." "I've read the briefings," Lisa said. She had done more than read briefings. She had studied every video of Kareth interactions with other species. She knew how they moved, how they gestured, what their aggression patterns looked like. She knew the distance at which they felt threatened. She knew that they considered humans to be fragile children playing at being important. Her quarters were clean and sparse. Lisa unpacked her single bag in minutes. Most of her clothing was the same, professional and neutral. She placed the locket on the small desk beside her bed and sat down. For a moment, she let the mask slip. Her hands trembled slightly. Her jaw clenched. In her mind, she saw her daughter Emma's face. 6 years old, with the same dark hair and serious eyes that Lisa carried in her own face. Emma had been on Colony 7 when the Kareth raids came. The official report said the colony had been destroyed in a territorial dispute. There were no survivors. Lisa had stood in front of a memorial wall that held the names of 10,000 dead, and she had pressed her hand against the spot where Emma's name was engraved. That had been 5 years ago. Lisa straightened up. She touched the locket once more and locked the trembling away in the part of herself that had learned to survive. Then she activated her communication device and sent a secure message using a code that only 3 people on this station knew how to read. "I'm in position. Preliminary assessment in 2 hours." She showered and changed into a fresh uniform. The woman who emerged from the bathroom looked exactly like what a human diplomat should look like. No trace of the storm underneath. No sign of the Deathworld warrior hidden beneath the careful exterior dot at the pre-negotiation briefing. Lisa met the Kareth delegation in an observation room that looked out toward the stars. Commander Vex was exactly as tall and imposing as the reports had suggested. He stood 12 feet high, his body covered in deep blue chitin that caught the light. 4 muscular arms hung at his sides, each one capable of crushing a human without effort. His face was an arrangement of mandibles and large compound eyes that never blinked. When he looked at Lisa, she could feel the weight of his gaze like a physical thing. The other 4 members of the Karath Council sat in specially reinforced chairs. They were slightly smaller than Vex, but no less intimidating. One of them made a sound that was translated by the station's systems into words. "This is the human representative," the translation said. "They sent us a fragile one." Lisa remained completely still. She did not react. She did not flinch. The Karath who had made the comment made a clicking sound that probably meant amusement. Vex leaned forward slightly. His mandibles opened and closed. "Ambassador Grant, we were told to expect you. I am Commander Vex. I lead this negotiation for the Karath Collective." "Commander Vex," Lisa said. Her voice did not waver. "I appreciate the opportunity to discuss our differences in a peaceful setting." "Differences," Vex repeated. The word sounded strange in his mandible arrangement. "Is that what you call the spaces where our species cannot coexist?" "We call them territories. We expand. Weaker species move. This is the way of the galaxy." Lisa had heard variations of this statement before. It was always delivered with absolute certainty. The Karath believed in hierarchy. Strength determined right. "The Galactic Council has asked me to explore alternatives to conflict," Lisa said carefully. "I believe there may be solutions that work for both our peoples." "There are solutions," another Karath said. The translation called him Magistrate Krull. "Leave the territories we claim and survive. Resist and be eliminated. These are your options." Lisa opened the folder on the table in front of her. Inside were documents about trade, resources, and potential cooperation. She did not believe any of it would matter. But she needed to buy time. She needed these negotiations to continue for at least 10 more days. She had reasons for this specific timeline that she could not share with anyone except the 3 people who knew what she really was. "I would like to propose several discussion points," Lisa said, her voice steady and professional. "Perhaps we could extend the negotiations to allow for more thorough dialogue." Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Why would we extend these discussions? Our position is clear." "Because," Lisa said, meeting his compound eyes directly, "understanding requires time. And I believe that you, Commander Vex, are intelligent enough to know that the simplest solutions are not always the best ones." For just a moment, something shifted in Vex's posture. A straightening of his upper body, a fluttering of the small sensory plates along his neck. He was not used to humans who spoke back. He was not used to humans who showed no fear. "We will negotiate further," Vex said finally. "But not because I need time to understand. Because your species amuses me. We will talk. But know this, Ambassador Grant, the Karath will not be denied. We will have what we want. The only question is whether your people will die fighting for worthless territory or simply move aside." Lisa closed her folder. She stood up slowly. "Then I look forward to our next session, Commander." "Tomorrow at this time?" "Tomorrow," Vex agreed. Lisa walked out of the observation room with the same measured pace she had entered with. But inside her mind, the countdown timer was ticking. 9 days until the Karath fleet launched its attack on Colony 9. 9 days until thousands of humans would die. 9 days until Lisa would have to decide whether to continue her role as a diplomat or reveal what she really was. She returned to her quarters and sent another secure message. Confirmed. The threat is real. I am proceeding with the backup plan. Activate Level 2 protocols. Lisa sat on her bed and looked at the photograph of Emma in the locket. She spoke to it softly, knowing no one else could hear her. "I'm coming, baby. I'm going to make sure no parent has to feel what I felt." The next 4 days passed in a rhythm of negotiation and secret preparation. During the day, Lisa sat in the observation room with the Karath and discussed trade agreements that she knew would never be signed. She asked careful questions about their military capabilities and territorial claims. She took notes on everything they said, filing away details about their command structure and decision-making processes at night. She met with Aaron Hayes in the station's lower maintenance levels where the security cameras had been carefully disabled by someone working on the inside. Aaron was a scientist on the surface, but like Lisa, he was something else underneath. He had been studying Karath biology for the past 2 years, preparing for this moment. Their neurological system is more centralized than most species, Aaron explained on the second night, pulling up data on a secure tablet. The screens cast harsh blue light across his tired face. They rely on a main nerve cluster located here at the base of their brainstem. It's protected by thick chitin, but it's not impervious to precise strikes. Lisa studied the anatomy diagrams. This was the kind of knowledge that most species kept hidden from others. But Aaron had learned it through careful observation and by talking to medical personnel across the galaxy who had treated Karath injuries. Piece by piece, he had assembled something that looked like a weakness. What about their sensory range? Lisa asked. They rely heavily on compound vision and chemical sensors, Aaron said. They have poor peripheral vision directly behind and to the sides of their bodies, and they cannot smell the way humans do. Their chemical detection is based on air particle analysis. If you move slowly and consistently, they sometimes struggle to distinguish between background movement and targeted motion. Lisa was already thinking tactically. She had been trained for over a decade, long before Emma died. The human military had identified that the only way humanity could survive in a galaxy filled with stronger species was to become smarter and more efficient than anyone else. Lisa represented the culmination of that program. And their psychology? She asked. Aaron hesitated. They view themselves as superior. The Karath believe that strength determines right. They expect weaker species to fear them, to submit without resistance. A human who does not show fear creates a kind of confusion in their decision-making processes. They don't know how to categorize resistance that comes from something they've been taught to view as insignificant. Lisa had already figured this out through her negotiations with Vex, the Karath. Commander kept expecting her to display anxiety or deference. When she did neither, he didn't know how to respond. She could see it in the way his mandibles would twitch slightly, in the pauses before he spoke. On the third day of negotiations, Lisa made a tactical decision. During a break in discussions, she deliberately mentioned her daughter to Vex. They were alone in a corridor, and she knew it would disturb her carefully constructed professional image. But she needed him to see her as something more than an abstract diplomat. My daughter was 6 years old, Lisa said quietly, as if she was speaking to herself. She was on Colony 7 when the territorial dispute occurred. She drew pictures of flowers. She wanted to be an engineer like her father. Vex stared at her with his compound eyes. His mandibles made a soft clicking sound. This is irrelevant to our negotiations, Ambassador. Perhaps, Lisa said. But I wanted you to understand that humans are capable of loving deeply. That the beings you view as fragile are also capable of standing for something they believe in. That we will not simply accept the death of our young. She walked away before Vex could respond. But she had planted a seed. She had shown him that she carried something powerful inside herself. Something more dangerous than any weapon. Aaron pulled her aside that evening in a station corridor near the science section. His face was pale and worried. Lisa, I intercepted a communication on the station's secure network. The Karath aren't just negotiating. They're planning something. There's a fleet movement happening in 7 days. I think they're going to attack Colony 9. Lisa's stomach tightened, but her face remained calm. Are you certain? No, Aaron admitted. But the communication signatures match military tactical channels. They were bouncing the signal through 3 different relays, but I was able to trace it back to Vex's personal quarters. Lisa, whatever they're negotiating about, it's not real. These talks are just cover for something else. I know, Lisa said quietly. She pulled Aaron into a small storage room to avoid the corridor cameras. I've known since the beginning. The Karath don't negotiate in good faith. They only understand strength and territory. I came here to confirm what I suspected, and now I need to make a decision. What decision? Aaron asked, fear creeping into his voice. Whether to let the attack happen as planned, or whether to stop it, Lisa said. She looked directly at Aaron. If I do nothing, Colony 9 will be destroyed. Thousands will die. But if I reveal what I am, if I act, it will change everything. The galaxy will learn that humanity is not what they think we are. And the Karath will have a reason to view us as a genuine threat. That's the point, isn't it? Aaron said. We are a genuine threat. We've just been hiding it. Yes, Lisa agreed. And once they know, there's no going back to the quiet life we had before. Humans will become something different in the eyes of the galaxy. Something feared instead of pitied. Is that so bad? Aaron asked what Lisa thought about Emma, about the 10,000 names on the memorial wall, about the parents who had lost their children to Karath expansion. She touched the locket beneath her uniform. No, she said finally. It's not bad. It's necessary. On the morning of the 4th day, Lisa attended the negotiation session with Commander Vex and the rest of the Karath Council. She had decided that she would give them one more opportunity to show something other than contempt. One more chance to demonstrate that there was any possibility of peace between their species. I have a proposal, Lisa said, laying out documents on the table. I suggest we establish a joint committee to oversee trade agreements between human space and Karath space. The committee would be made up of representatives from both species, working together toward mutual benefit. Magistrate Krell made a dismissive gesture with one of his limbs. Humans have nothing we want that we cannot simply take. What about knowledge? Lisa pressed. What about the benefit of seeing how another species approaches problems? We have no need for the solutions of inferior species. Another Karath said. Vex, however, seemed to consider Lisa's proposal more seriously than his council members. Perhaps because of what she had told him in the corridor. Perhaps because he was more intelligent than the others. He leaned back in his chair, his compound eyes fixed on Lisa's face. This committee you propose, Vex said slowly, would it interfere with our territorial expansion? Lisa met his gaze directly. Yes, she said simply, because I believe territorial expansion through conquest is wrong, and I believe humans should have a voice in preventing it. The observation room went completely silent. The Karath had not expected direct honesty. They had not expected a human to tell them, to their faces, that they believed the Karath were wrong. You believe you can stop us? Vex asked. There was something like curiosity in his voice. Something like the first stirrings of respect, or at least recognition that Lisa was something more than a simple diplomat. I believe I can try, Lisa replied. And I believe that trying is what humans do best. That evening, Lisa sent her final message through secure channels. It contained only 3 words. Execute the plan. 7 days of preparation culminated in 6 hours. In those 6 hours, everything that Lisa had built as a diplomat would come crashing down. In those 6 hours, the careful persona she had created would be shed like dead skin. In those 6 hours, humanity would stop hiding. The station corridors became a battleground in the span of 30 seconds. What had been a place of peaceful negotiation transformed into an active combat zone. The 7 human soldiers emerged from their hidden positions, each one moving with the same cold efficiency that Lisa had demonstrated in the observation room. Sergeant Marcus Chun took the command center with 3 soldiers under his direction. The Karath had maintained a small security force on the station, but they had never expected to be attacked by humans. They had believed humanity incapable of organized military action. This assumption cost them dearly. Chun and his team moved through the security corridors like ghosts, disabling cameras and locking down communication channels before the Karath guards even understood what was happening. 2 soldiers, Corporal James Davis and Private Sophie Martinez, secured the engineering section and began shutting down systems that could be used to evacuate the Karath from the station. They worked with precision, each motion practiced 100 times. When Karath maintenance workers tried to stop them, Davis made a choice. He did not kill them. Instead, he used the same immobilization techniques that Lisa had taught the team. The Karath workers found themselves unable to move but alive. Confused about what had happened to them, the final soldier, Corporal Henry Wright, positioned himself in the docking bay to prevent the Karath delegation from escaping. He was watching the departure route when a shuttle containing a group of Karath warriors arrived, ready to back up their commanders. Wright activated a secure communication channel to Lisa. Contact at the docking bay. Looks like reinforcements arriving. Lisa's voice came back immediately. Do not let them reach the command sector. Use force if necessary. Wright pulled up the bay door's emergency controls and sealed the main entrance. The Karath shuttle slammed into the closed doors and bounced back, its armored hull scratched but intact. 6 Karath warriors emerged from the shuttle, their forms huge and powerful, carrying weapons that looked designed to destroy everything in their path. Wright was only 1 human. He was outgunned and outmatched by nearly every physical metric. But he had something the Karath did not have. He had spent his entire military career learning to think like prey in a galaxy of predators. He had learned that strength was not always an advantage if you knew how to use speed and environment against a dot as the Karath approached. Wright did not back away. Instead, he moved forward, using the environment of the docking bay itself as a weapon. He activated the artificial gravity controls and set them to maximum strength. The Karath, whose physiology depended on precise movement and coordination, suddenly found themselves struggling under triple gravity. Their massive bodies, built for strength, became a liability in the crushing pressure. Wright struck then, moving with the skill of a trained soldier who understood that he was fighting for people he would never meet. Each strike was calculated to immobilize rather than kill. Within 90 seconds, all 6 Karath warriors lay on the ground, unable to move beneath the intense gravity. Wright contacted the team again. Docking bay secured. No casualties on our side. Throughout the station, the same scene played out again and again. Humans engaged Karath warriors, and despite the size and strength difference, the humans won. They won because they had studied their enemy. They won because they had trained for this exact scenario. They won because they understood that brains and training could overcome raw power if applied correctly. In the observation room, Lisa maintained her focus on Vex. The Karath commander was still immobilized, still unable to move. But now he could hear the sounds of combat throughout the station, and he could understand that his people were losing. His eyes, those compound organs that had looked at Lisa with contempt just minutes ago, now held something different: recognition, fear, the understanding that everything he had believed about himself and his species was wrong. "Your fleet is standing down," Lisa said to him. She spoke slowly and clearly. "Your warriors throughout the station are being contained. Your command structure is disabled. In approximately 15 minutes, The Galactic Council will have received evidence of your planned attack on Colony 9. Your species will face sanctions. Your leadership will be questioned. And it will all happen because you believe that humans were too weak to be a threat. You, Vex said, his voice barely above a growl. What are you? I am Operator 7, Lisa said. I am a soldier trained by the human military for over a decade. I am someone whose child was taken by your people's expansion. I am what humans become when you push us too far. And I am only one. There are others like me. Hundreds of soldiers, all trained to understand your weaknesses. All trained to protect those who cannot protect themselves. She pressed her communication device. All units, report status. The reports came in rapid succession. Command center secured. Engineering section secured. Docking bay secured. Medical section secured. Every critical location on the station was now under human control. Not a single human soldier had been killed. Several had been injured, but none fatally. The Kareth, for all their strength and technology, had been defeated by a species they had underestimated. The communication system crackled to life. It was Marcus Chun from the command center. Lisa, I have the Kareth fleet commander on the secure channel. He's requesting confirmation that you are alive and in control. Lisa took the communication. This is Operator 7. I confirm that the Kareth delegation on this station is in custody. The attack on Colony 9 has been called off. Any further aggression toward human colonies will result in consequences. Do you understand? The voice that came back was controlled, but carried an undertone of shock. I understand. The fleet is standing down. But you should know that when this reaches the other Kareth worlds, there will be those who demand retaliation. You have humiliated us in front of the galaxy. Good, Lisa said flatly. Fear is an excellent teacher. Perhaps you will learn that not every species is as weak as you believed. She ended the transmission and turned back to Vex, the Kareth. Commander was staring at her with an intensity that might have been respect or hatred or both. How did you hide this? Vex asked. How did you conceal an entire military force? We learned that hiding is survival, Lisa said. Your species conquered through strength. Our species survived through hiding our strength until we absolutely had to use it. And we have been working toward this moment for decades. You were not unlucky, Commander Vex. You were the first test. And humans passed. The Kareth Fleet Commander's voice returned through the communication system. The Galactic Council has been notified. They are requesting that all parties stand by for an emergency session in 2 hours. The evidence of our attack plans is being broadcast across the Council channels. Lisa allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The hard part was done. Now came the diplomatic phase, which would be equally important. She would have to stand before the assembled powers of the galaxy and explain what humanity truly was. She would have to make them understand that humans were not a threat to be destroyed, but a power to be respected. She looked out through the observation room viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, in Colony 9, 40,000 humans would wake up this morning believing they would die. By the time they finished their breakfast, they would learn, they would live. They would learn that someone had stood for them, that someone had sacrificed their entire diplomatic career to save their lives. And somewhere in the memorial wall of names, Emma's name would no longer represent just a death. It would represent a mother's promise kept, a daughter's death avenged not through destruction, but through the saving of others. Lisa straightened her torn suit and prepared herself for what came next. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. And this time, they would not hide. The intercepted communication came through at 0300 hours station time. Lisa was already awake. sitting in the darkness of her quarters with only the starlight streaming through the viewport. The message was encoded, but she had memorized the decryption algorithm weeks ago. It took her 2 minutes to read and understand what it meant. The Karath fleet would begin its attack on Colony 9 in exactly 6 hours. 17 warships were already moving into position. The population of Colony 9 was 40,000 humans. The defensive fleet had only 4 ships. Without intervention, the colony would be destroyed. Every single person living there would be dead by this time tomorrow. Lisa stood and walked to the viewport. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. Out there, in the darkness of space, people were sleeping, unaware that their lives had already been marked for ending. Children were dreaming. Parents were resting. And in 6 hours, they would wake up to destruction and death. She could not let that happen. Lisa moved through her quarters with sudden, efficient motions. She pulled off her diplomat suit and removed it piece by piece. Beneath it, she was wearing a thin black suit made of a material that could distribute kinetic energy across its surface. It was not armor exactly, but it was something close. It would allow her to survive impacts that would normally shatter human bones. From beneath her bed, she withdrew a case she had not opened since arriving at the station. Inside was equipment that no diplomat should ever carry. Combat tools designed by human military engineers, specifically to exploit alien weaknesses. A blade that was perfectly weighted for striking through chitin. Adhesive gloves that would allow her to climb vertical surfaces with ease. A small device that emitted a high-frequency sound that disoriented Karath's sensory organs without affecting human hearing. She dressed herself in complete silence. Every movement was practiced and precise. Her hands did not shake anymore. The grief had been locked away and replaced with cold determination. She was no longer Lisa Grant, human diplomat. She was Operator 7, the designation she had been given when she first entered military service more than a decade ago. A soft knock came at her door. Lisa checked the security camera feed on her wrist display. It was Aaron. She let him in quickly, and he slipped inside, his face tight with fear and anticipation. "It's confirmed," he said. "The Karath fleet is moving. Colony 9 has less than 6 hours." "I know," Lisa said. She was fastening a second set of equipment around her waist. "Are the others in position?" "All 7 of them are unconfirmed. They're hidden in the maintenance sections like we planned. But Lisa, once you reveal what you are, there's no going back. The Karath will report everything to the Galactic Council. All the species in the galaxy will know that humans have been hiding a military force." "That's the point," Lisa said. She checked her equipment one final time. Each tool had a specific purpose. Each one represented human ingenuity and practical design. "We can't hide what we are anymore. The only choice now is how we show it to them." "What do you want them to see?" Aaron asked. Lisa met his eyes. "I want them to see that humanity does not accept the death of innocents. I want them to see that we will stand against evil, even when it's stronger than us. And I want them to see that the worst thing a species can do is underestimate what humans are willing to sacrifice for those we love." She touched the locket one final time and fastened it beneath her black suit. Then she straightened up, every trace of the woman who had been sitting in diplomatic meetings vanishing. In her place stood something harder and more dangerous. "I'm going to attend the morning negotiation session," Lisa said calmly. "Vex and his council will be there. I'm going to confront him directly about the attack on Colony 9. I'm going to give him one opportunity to call off the fleet. And when he refuses, I'm going to make sure he's in a position where his commands cannot reach anyone." "How?" Aaron asked. "By moving faster than anything he expects," Lisa replied. At 0800 hours, Lisa entered the observation room for the final negotiation session. She was wearing her diplomat suit again, outwardly the same as always. But beneath it, She carried the tools and the will to reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Vex and his council were already seated. The Karath commander looked at her with what might have been satisfaction. He had decided to end this farce and begin the attack. Lisa could see it in his posture. He believed the humans had no idea what was about to happen. "Commander Vex," Lisa said, her voice as calm and measured as it always was. "Before we continue, I wanted to discuss your fleet movements near Colony 9. The entire room went still. Vex's compound eyes focused on Lisa with sudden intensity. Magistrate Krell made a sharp clicking sound. One of the other Karath half rose from his chair. "I do not know what you are talking about," Vex said carefully, but Lisa could see the shift in his posture. He was beginning to understand that she knew more than she should. "I believe you do," Lisa said. She stepped away from the negotiation table and moved toward the center of the observation room. "I know about the 17 ships. I know about the attack plan. I know that you were using these negotiations as a cover while your military prepared to destroy 40,000 human lives. And I'm here to tell you that it will not happen." Vex stood slowly, his massive form straightening to its full height. "You are a diplomat, Ambassador Grant. You have no authority to command anything." "No," Lisa agreed. "I'm not a diplomat." She moved then, faster than any human Vex had ever encountered. She crossed the room in 3 strides and activated the frequency disruptor. The sound, inaudible to human ears, blasted across the observation room at a frequency that made every Karath freeze. Their sensory organs overloaded with conflicting signals. Their balance systems went haywire in that moment of confusion. Lisa pulled the emergency lockdown switch that Aaron had shown her. The observation room doors sealed shut with a pneumatic hiss. The external communications were cut off. The transparent walls became opaque, blocking Vex and his council from the rest of the station. "What is this?" Vex roared, struggling against the sensory assault. His voice was filled with fury and confusion. He had never been attacked. He had never been vulnerable. His entire identity was built on the foundation of absolute strength. "This," Lisa said, moving between the Karath representatives with deadly precision, "is what happens when you underestimate your enemy. You are isolated. Your fleet cannot hear your orders. Your people are now facing 7 human soldiers who are specifically trained to exploit every weakness your species has. And you are going to remain here until I confirm that the attack on Colony 9 has been called off." She struck then, moving to places Vex could not reach, striking with the tools Aaron had provided. She was not trying to kill. She was trying to immobilize. The Karath commander roared and lunged for her, but Lisa had trained for this exact moment. She anticipated his movements. She slipped beneath his reaching limbs and struck precisely at the joints of his legs, using the adhesive gloves to maintain position as his massive body swung through the air. The other Karath tried to reach her, but they were still disoriented by the frequency disruptor. Lisa disabled each one methodically, moving with absolute efficiency. She was no longer fighting as a human fighting aliens. She was fighting as a trained soldier executing a plan. Within 3 minutes, all 4 members of the Karath Council were on the ground, unable to move. Vex was the last, and he fought the hardest. But even his strength could not overcome Lisa's training and the tools she'd been given. When it was done, Lisa stood in the center of the observation room, her black suit now visible through the torn sections of her diplomat's clothing. Her breathing was heavy but controlled. She touched the communication device on her wrist. "All units move in," she commanded. "Secure the station command center. Disable all Karath military communications. Execute lockdown protocol on all docking bays." The response came back immediately from 7 human soldiers positioned throughout the station. Each one acknowledged the command with a single word: moving. Lisa looked down at Vex, who lay on the ground with all four of his limbs immobilized. His compound eyes stared up at her with something like shock. She had defeated him. A fragile human had brought down a Karath warrior, twice her size. It was impossible. But it had happened. Send a message to the Karath fleet, Lisa commanded into her communication device. Stand down from attack vector or face consequences. You have 60 seconds to confirm compliance. The seconds stretched out. Vex tried to move, but the immobilization held. He began to make sounds, clicking and hissing that might have been orders or rage or both. At 55 seconds, the response came through. The Karath fleet was standing down. The attack on Colony 9 had been cancelled. 40,000 humans would live to see another day. Lisa removed the locket from beneath her suit and looked at it. Emma's face smiled back at her from the photograph. Mission accomplished. Baby, she whispered, and then she turned to face the Karath commanders, who would now have to explain to their people how they had been defeated by the species they had always considered beneath them. The Galactic Council Chamber was a place built to inspire awe. It was circular in shape, with the council members' seats arranged in a perfect arc that faced inward toward a central floor. The walls were transparent, showing the expanse of space beyond. On any normal day, the chamber felt like being inside a soap bubble floating through the stars. Today, with emergency lights flashing and tension thick enough to touch, it felt like being inside a trap. Lisa stood in the center of that floor. She had changed back into a fresh diplomatic uniform, trying to look as normal as possible. But everyone in the chamber could see the marks on her wrists from where Karath weapons had struck her suit. Everyone could see the tear in her jacket where one of the warriors had tried to grab her. Everyone could see the human who had walked softly into their galaxy and emerged as something none of them had expected. The council was made up of representatives from 12 different species. The Velicorians, who were tall and thin, with skin that changed colors based on their emotions. The Threshold Collective, massive insectoid beings who communicated through a series of clicking sounds. The Zarthian Empire, reptilian creatures with intelligence that rivaled any species in known space. And many others, all gathered now to understand what had happened at Meridian Station. Ambassador Cervic of the Velicorians spoke first. His skin was a pale shade of gray, which Lisa recognized as confusion or shock. Ambassador Grant, we have received evidence that you led an unauthorized military action against the Karath delegation. Can you explain your actions? Lisa took a moment before responding. She wanted her answer to be perfect, to be exactly what this council needed to hear. The Karath came to negotiate in bad faith. Commander Vex and his delegation were using our diplomatic talks as cover for a military operation. They planned to attack Colony 9, a human settlement containing 40,000 civilians. They planned to destroy it completely. I received confirmation of this attack just hours before it was to be executed. And you responded with violence, a Threshold representative said. His antennae were vibrating in a pattern that indicated agitation. Despite the fact that Meridian Station is designated as neutral ground, I responded to prevent genocide, Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but carried weight. I attempted diplomatic resolution first. When I confronted Commander Vex about the planned attack, he dismissed my concerns. He made it clear that the Karath intend to continue their expansion through conquest. When peaceful means failed, I used the tools available to me to prevent the deaths of 40,000 innocent people. Tools that should not exist, a representative of the Zarthian Empire said. His scales were a deep red, signifying anger. For decades, humans have claimed to be a peaceful species. You have presented yourselves as scientists and philosophers and merchants. Now we learn that you have hidden military forces, that you have studied our weaknesses. That you were prepared to attack us at any moment. We were not prepared to attack, Lisa corrected him. We were prepared to defend. There is a critical difference. Humans did not hide an army because we wanted conquest. We hid it because we learned that in a galaxy where might makes right, weakness equals death. We studied your species not to find ways to dominate you, but to find ways to survive you. And now you have revealed yourselves, Cervix said. The galaxy knows what humans truly are. What do you expect to happen now? Lisa looked directly at each council member in turn. She wanted them to see her as a person, not as a curiosity or a threat. I expect that you will be afraid. I expect that you will debate whether humans should be allowed to continue existing in the galaxy. And I expect that some of you will argue that humanity should be destroyed before we become a threat you cannot contain. The council chamber erupted in conversation. Species that normally would not speak to each other began talking in excited tones. Security forces moved to defensive positions. Lisa stood calmly in the center of it all, waiting for the noise to settle. When it did, Ambassador Cervix spoke again. Your honesty is appreciated, but it does not change the fundamental problem. The Karath have filed a formal complaint. They demand that humanity be investigated for violations of galactic law. They demand that your military forces be dismantled. Some among the Threshold have suggested that humanity should simply be eliminated to prevent future conflicts. Then let me speak to those fears, Lisa said. She held up the locket and opened it, showing Emma's photograph to the entire chamber. This is my daughter. She was 6 years old. She died when the Karath destroyed the colony she was living on. The Karath called it a territorial dispute. They saw her as an acceptable casualty of their expansion. I could have hated them. I could have wanted them destroyed. But I did not. She walked slowly around the council chamber, making sure every representative could see the photograph. What I wanted was for no other parent to feel what I have felt. What I wanted was to make sure that no other child had to die so that another species could claim territory. I did not attack the Karath because I wanted revenge. I attacked them because I could not let them destroy Colony 9, because I understood that sometimes standing against evil is more important than following the rules about how that standing should happen. A new representative stood. This one was from the Kesh Confederation, a species known for their emphasis on philosophy and ethics. You speak of defending others, but does your action not establish a precedent? If humans can take military action based on their belief that a threat is imminent, cannot other species claim the same right? Yes, Lisa admitted. They can. And perhaps they should. Perhaps the problem is not that humans acted, but that we were the first to act openly. The Karath took military action based on their belief that expansion was their right. We responded by preventing that expansion through force. Both actions were based on what we believed was correct. The difference is that I was willing to stand in front of you and explain my actions. The Karath tried to hide theirs. She replaced the locket and stood straight, looking at each council member. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We do not want conquest, but we will not accept the destruction of innocence. We will stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. And yes, this means you need to take us seriously. This means you need to view us as a power in galactic affairs. But it also means you should trust us. Because everything we have done in defense of life, not in pursuit of domination. The council debated for hours. Some representatives argued for strict restrictions on human military activity. Others argued that the Karath threat was real and that humanity's response had been justified. Still others proposed new agreements and treaties that would govern interactions between species. In the end, a compromise was reached. The Karath attack plans were made public. Sanctions were placed on the Karath Collective. A new treaty was established that gave humans representation on the council, and recognized their right to defend their own populations. Human military forces were allowed to exist, but they would be monitored and subject to council oversight. It was not perfect, but it was a beginning. 3 days later, Lisa stood in Meridian Station's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Aaron approached and stood beside her in silence for a long moment. "Colony 9 is safe," he said finally. "They're calling it a miracle. They want to meet you. 40,000 people want to thank you." "Tell them I did what needed to be done," Lisa said. "Tell them that their lives matter, that human lives matter, and that we will not accept being treated as expendable." "What will you do now?" Aaron asked. "I'm going home," Lisa said. "There's a memorial wall where I need to add something. A record that says my daughter's death led to the salvation of others. That her memory did something that mattered. She touched our locket one final time. And then I think I need to help other humans understand what we can become. What we need to become. Because the galaxy is watching us now. And we need to show them what humans truly are." Over the next months, humanity's presence in the galaxy changed. Other species began to engage with humans differently. With respect. With caution. Some with fear. But fear that led to treating humans as equals rather than as useful tools. Trade agreements became more balanced. Human colonies were protected by stronger defense agreements. And human voices were heard when decisions were made about galactic policy. Lisa became the first human representative to the Galactic Council, and she used her position to advocate for peace and understanding between species. But she also made sure that everyone understood that peace was not the same as weakness, that humans would stand against tyranny, that the fragile species from a Deathworld had learned how to survive in a galaxy of predators. In her quarters on Meridian Station, which had become her primary residence, Lisa kept Emma's locket on her desk. Every morning, she looked at it and remembered why she had chosen to walk softly into that first negotiation. And every evening, she looked at it and remembered why she had chosen to step forward. When the time came to act, humanity had been hiding in the shadows of the galaxy for a long time. But now, they stood in the light. Not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as protectors, as defenders of the innocent, as a species that would never again accept the destruction of their children.